I'm not convinced that small sats have disrupted the Earth observation industry. I'm not convinced that small sats have disrupted the Earth observation industry. I'm not sure that that's a true statement. I would say the first point on our side is we're not necessarily committed to small sats. Our commitment is to the right mission solution to solve the right set of customer problems. And frankly, to us, the size of the spacecraft is irrelevant. It's utterly immaterial. Our bias, and this is just an engineering philosophy, our bias is towards missions that have a longer lifespan and which have bigger aperture, they have redundancy, they're dual string, and they have a lot of heritage. We certainly appreciate the innovation that others are bringing to this industry with a different engineering approach, and I think that's very valuable. But fundamentally, for us, we think that small satellites have still some way to go in terms of proving that they're here for the long haul.
There are two things that are relevant for this. I mean, one is the fact that smaller satellites necessarily, for the laws of physics, deliver worse performance than larger satellites. So this is part of the trade-off, which is important. But probably the biggest part of the equation is the duration of the service that a small satellite can provide. So we are basically asking our customers to use our data, and they will have to adapt to our data. So they will have to make investment, they will have to start using this data. So we have to provide long lifespan and the long availability, assured availability of this data, long enough to permit these customers to work with the data. So a mission which has too short of a lifetime is not enough for a customer to really decide to use this data.
I think we're seeing the business on a broad range of geographies, verticals, and customer types. There absolutely is the traditional government agency, the government user agency, who has very specific demands. We like those customers. They are the bread and butter, the backbone of the industry. But what I think the really exciting thing is as well is that there's an emergence of increasingly sophisticated B2B opportunities, purely commercial customers, whose appetites for data are substantial. And principally underlying this whole, the measurement of everything, the big data trend, is the reality that the volumes of data, the quantities of data that these types of customers want to consume with machine learning algorithms exceed what can be processed by human eyeballs. It's fundamentally about much bigger problems, much bigger data sets. And I think that customer base, that market is becoming increasingly sophisticated.
And the things we clearly experienced in the last few months was thanks to the fact that we are having a wider portfolio inside the company, because now we have 4 satellites flying with 4 different characteristics. And thanks to the fact that the PAGEO Alliance is growing, so that we have access to a much broader set of assets in the frame of the Alliance itself, because we have already 15 operational Earth observation satellites as of today, with many others going to be launched in the next few months. We are seeing that we can access type of contracts of a size and of a scope, let's say, of a broad scope, which were frankly unthinkable even a few months ago. So it's really going not only in the direction of creating maybe the access to a wider market for us in the short term, but also getting exposed to this biggest customer for the next generation systems. We are trying to position ourselves as basically the providers of a service of imagery. So we will provide an imagery service, and thanks to our platform, we will be able to deliver it at a scale which is frankly unheard of today. So we are developing all the infrastructure to be able to provide these data sets to the big data provider. So that will be the first steps basically of our offer in terms of service. The next obvious steps will be not just delivering pixels, which is what the market is needing now, but also to deliver geoanalytics services. So that will be the next basically the next part of the expansion, for sure we will be providing some analytic services ourselves based on big data, but to provide, let's say, a simplified information extracted out of this big data to customers. And for sure, we will use our infrastructure and our, let's say, imagery big data that we have thanks to our platform to provide inputs to geoanalytic companies, to third parties, to partners, to customers that will then serve the final user. So it will be a combination of both. Of course, everything will be enabled by the fact that we have big data in terms of imagery, and that we have a platform which is capable of handling this big data and working with the ecosystem. So yes, we are clearly seeing this trend. There is simply not enough big data right now in terms of acceleration to unleash it, but I think it's coming.
It's hard to predict, but fundamentally though, we're very excited about the next 5 years. We think that you're seeing the convergence of some very interesting trends technologically, in terms of not just on the space side, but on the ground side, and how data is processed on the cloud and distributed. Economically, in terms of the reduction of the costs of operating in space, launching to space. Politically, in terms of the regulatory environments that govern this business. And then, of course, competitively, because now so many more players are entering into the space, and the innovation now is really along many different axes. And so this is a great time to be in this industry. I mean, quite frankly, Earth observation has never witnessed as exciting a time of change and development as this. And so we feel just very privileged and honored to be part of it.
Yeah. And we're striving to act as aggregators of the players of this industry, both in terms of the operators, in terms of the solutions providers, in terms of the technology partners. So we are trying to bring people and solutions together in order to be able to offer basically a broader solutions to the customer, and to work together to expand the market. That is one of the main things we have to do collectively as a sector in the next few years.